Welcome to Algebra, lesson number 5, evaluating expressions. So this might be a new term for some of you. The word evaluate means to complete all the mathematical operations that you can in order to arrive at a single answer at the end. In this unit, we're going to use the word evaluate to mean given a particular value for a variable, we're going to substitute that value into the expression and then evaluate, meaning do all the mathematical operations to get to the final answer. So let's have a quick look at example number 1 to get ourselves rolling. The instruction reads, evaluate the following expressions when x equals 2. So that's an important piece right there. When we say x equals 2, what we're saying is every time you see an x in the expressions that follow, we're going to substitute a 2 into the place where the x was and then perform the mathematical operations that the expression tells us to. So let's have a look at the first one. The first one is 2x. So I'm going to write down the first piece, that's a 2, and instead of an x, it has told me to write down a 2 instead. So I'm just going to highlight that. Instead of an x, I've put in a 2. And over here, it's told me that these two things are equivalent. That's why I'm doing this. And now I just have to complete the mathematical operations it asks me to. So 2 times 2 is going to be equal to 4. And that's our answer for example 1a. Let's have a look at b. X plus 4. So same thing, instead of an x, this time I'm going to put in a 2 and then the plus 4. And again, just to reiterate this, there's my x and I'm replacing it with a 2 just as it says I should in the instruction. And 2 plus 4 is going to give me 6. There it is again. Let's have a look at the last example. 10 over x, again when x equals 2, so I'm going to write this as 10 over, and instead of x this time I'm going to write a 2, again x and a 2 in for it just as the instruction says I should, and 10 divided by 2 is going to give me 5, and I'm going to put some equal signs in here just because I feel like it today. So there's some equal signs, and I'll go back and put them in over here as well. Alright, so there is our first example, including A, B, and C for substitution of x equals 2 into the expressions and then evaluating. Let's have a look at example number 2. This time we're going to substitute in for y and z, two different variables. That's cool, we can handle this. So we have y, I'm going to change up my colors here a little bit. Every time we see a y, we're going to substitute in the value -1. And every time we see the exponent z, we are going to put in the number 3. So let's start at the beginning. A says 3y. So I'm going to write down 3, and instead of y, I'm going to substitute in -1. And again, that's because over there in the question it says every time you see a y, substitute in -1. That was right there that we saw that. So now I'm going to do the operations it's asked of me, and 3 times -1. Now, again, we don't see it here, but anytime we don't see the sign in front of our coefficient or in front of our integer, we're going to assume it to be positive. So a positive integer times a negative integer gives us a negative product, and 3 times 1 is 3. So that's how we tackle example 2a. Let's have a look at b. So we have z minus y. So we're going to just write these things in. Instead of a z, I'm going to write in a 3. Subtract, and then instead of a y, I'm going to put in a -1. Now, we're being asked to combine here. I'm going to fill in a few details. That 3 out front, it is a positive 3. And when we're combining integers, again, I don't want to have this subtraction here. I want to replace that with a positive sign. But to do that, I have to replace, or change rather, the sign of the integer that follows. So I actually have, and I'll do a little rewrite here just for clarity, I have +3 plus +1. I'm going to combine these integers. They have the same sign, so I'm just going to add them together. That's going to give me a +4. Or you can just write 4 if you like. Let's have a look at the last example. We have z over y, so we are going to write that as, and I'll just take the opportunity here to write this as a +3, just to help it. And there's my y is going to be -1. So this calls back to the unit that we did on integers. A positive integer divided by a negative integer gives us a negative quotient. And 3 divided by 1 will give me 3. So there is our answer for z divided by y in this question. So hopefully this is making sense to you. What I'd like you to do here is try example A on your own. So I'm just going to zoom into it. Actually, let's read the question together first. Evaluate the following expressions when A equals 5. So I'm going to grab a new color. So that means every time I see an A, I'm going to put in a 5. And every time I see a B, I'm going to put in a -2. So let's start with the first one. We have 4 over B. I'd like you to hit pause, give it a try on your own. When you've got it, come on back and we'll see how you did. Alright, so we've got 4 over B. When I see that B, I'm going to substitute in a -2. So I'm going to write this as 4 over -2. Now the sign on that 4, although I haven't written it, is going to be a positive 4. A positive integer divided by a negative integer gives me a negative quotient. And 4 divided by 2 will give me 2. So there is our first answer. Hopefully you got that. We're going to move on to B. And again, here I'd like you to hit pause in the video, try it on your own. When you've got an answer, come on back and we'll check that answer to see how you did. Alright, we've got A plus B. When I see an A, I'm going to substitute in a 5. And again, at this point, I'm going to just put a positive 5 in there. I know I'm going to need to do it later. Plus, and B is going to be, when I sub it in, a -2. Now this doesn't require a rewrite because we're already combining using addition. We've got our addition hiding right there in the middle, so we're all good. A positive 5 and a -2. So these two integers have different signs. The larger of the two integers is 5, so our answer is going to be positive, and the difference between 5 and 2 is 3. So positive 3 will be our answer to B. I'd like you to hit pause and try C here on your own. Last one in the lesson. Give it a try. When you got an answer, come on back and we'll see how you did. Alright, let's get a look at this. We have AB. Now those two letters just bumping up together without any sort of indication what the operation should be. So when two things are bumping up in math, the operation is multiplication. So we are going to replace A with a positive 5. And I am going to replace B with a -2. So there they are bumping up. We're going to be multiplying these two integers together. So when we multiply a positive and a negative integer, or integers with different signs, our product is going to be negative, and 5 times 2 is 10. So there is our answer for C. And that is the end of lesson number 5. Get some practice with this in the worksheet, and we'll see you in lesson number 6.